And at this time, I'm going to invite Sharika Mills, the moderator for our second panel discussion. She will be talking, well, the panel will be talking about how youth have actually been able to advocate for healthy food policy, or in the healthy foods policy space across the Caribbean. And I'm sure this has also been exciting presentation. So please have your Twitter fingers ready so you can share your takeaways online and of course engage and ask your questions. Sharika?
Hi, everybody. So as Christina said, I'm Sharika Mills. Okay, I can see my video now. Okay, today we will be speaking with a panel of youth advocates. So you just learned a little bit about youth advocacy, you know, what youth advocacy is, some types of youth advocacy, just basically what youth advocacy is and how exactly you can be a youth advocate. So you're going to learn right now. We're going to have some examples, and I'm really excited for this panel because I work with these people. I know how hard they work. I know the kind of work that they put into making things happen and the kind of work that they also put into all of our youth advocates. So we have Rosanna Pike, who's the Health Education Officer at Heart Foundation of Jamaica, and she's waving here. We have Shanique Bowden, who is my boss and the Executive Director at Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network. We have Daniel Walwin, who's the Advocacy Officer at Healthy Caribbean Coalition, and you also heard that she manages Healthy Caribbean Youth, so I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about that today. And we have Tayer Bulbulia, who is the Advocacy Officer at Heart and Stroke Foundation. All right, so let us start getting into it. I see Shelly is posting all of the bios in the chat. All right, so the first thing I want each panelist to tell us is just a little about their organization. So briefly describe your organization and then tell us how exactly your organization is helping youth advocates to be within the healthy food environment. So tell us a little about your organization and how exactly you're engaging youth advocates in your work. So let's start with the order I went in. So let's go with Rosanna first.
Hi, so good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. As Sharika introduced me, I'm the Health Education Officer for the Global Health Advocacy Project at HFJ. I'll just say HFJ for short. And in summary, HFJ, we're a non-governmental, nonprofit organization established in 1971. And overall mission and vision is basically improving quality of life by reducing cardiovascular diseases. But with our advocacy project, we use health education, health promotion, and advocacy general as some of the numerous strategies, to help the organization fulfill its mission and vision, right? And we've realized the powerful impact that youth can make towards, shaping healthier societies, especially that there are, powerful catalysts and prolific communicators in social movements, hence the advent of our Jamaica Health Youth Advocates Youth Arm Program. So with our youth involvement and the vast background they have, because some are in the field of dietetics and nutrition, some are medical students, some are just, persons within high school or just starting tertiary institutions and are just, they have a passion for, shaping healthier societies. So they have been displaying civic stewardship that pertains to, improving population health through our outreach programs, whether at the Heart Foundation, or outside activities through community health fairs, nutrition education in the clinical settings, or even lending their voice in a number of activities such as a workshop as this one with the, in collaboration with the Healthy Caribbean Youth and other organizations. And to close off in all this, they have been instrumental in shifting, the emphasis on population health improvement from preventing widespread non-communicable diseases to address the social and environmental factors that basically underpin health in general. That's it.
Okay, before you go, Rosanna, I just wanted to ask, how do you find these youth advocates? Like, how do you know where they are to engage them?
Really and truly, it all started, I must say that boy, Alex Johnson, he's very, because he's so vocal and passionate. So it started with him, and because he, him and his family of Utahns, those are other dietetics and nutrition students from the University of Technology, Jamaica. And, with we had that Jaya basically sitting on the back burner for quite a while. Like, let's just resurrect it, reinvent it, and let's recruit him and some of his colleagues, and then we extended it to a number of other youth organizations that we worked with, like the National Secondary Students Council, right? And then you guys at JN, you've also been instrumental in helping us to basically set the foundation and get persons to join the program. So that's really where it all started. So we just, with that one person who we're working with, and then we just started extending our reach from there.
All right. So you can see how organizations that don't even start off with engaging youth in the beginning, after realizing just how important youth advocacy is, end up having to engage youth advocates in this space. Okay, so before Shanique goes, we're just joining our panel is Andrew Danu, and he is the president of the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And we want him to feel super welcome, and also in the line of everyone else, to tell us a little about the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and just how exactly you guys are engaging youth advocates. So that was the question, but we just had Rosanna, and we're gonna have Shanique go now.
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. So I'm Shanique Bowden, as Sharika said, the Executive Director at JAN. So JAN, the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, is a youth-led advocacy group here in Jamaica. We've existed since around 2006, informally, and primarily I've been kind of known for mobilizing young people in Jamaica to advocate for policy and legislative reform and issues that can be addressed through policy and legislative. That's mainly, I think, the thing that separates us from most youth groups, that we do advocacy, but we're also very policy and legislative driven. No coincidence that both myself and Sharika are attorneys, so that kind of plays out in terms of the work that we do. But JM started formally doing nutrition work last March, so March 2021, which was our first time doing work around nutrition, but wasn't our first time doing work around health generally, because we've always advocated around mental health, around sex and reproductive health rights, and other, just access to proper health care for young people as just a fundamental part of our advocacy as well. So we started out doing nutrition work last year, which was a big learning curve for the team, to get kind of up to date on everything that's been happening in the space and all the different nuances and those sort of stuff. And it's been a very interesting and exciting journey, but we're definitely, kind of mindful of that, the evolving background of what is happening with nutrition work. JAN's team is supported by our Advocacy Council, which is a group of young people from between typically like 16 to 24 thereabout. Our group is a bit older this year. It's mainly those who are like 18 to 23, that's in our group. And we rotate our Advocacy Council every 2 years, sorry. And as part of our ambassador group for our health and nutrition project, we have a set of ambassadors, somewhat similar to Jaya, who specifically just work directly with us on health and nutrition advocacy. And that group is a bit more general in terms of we have high schoolers, we have persons who just started university, and persons who are finished university. So it's a very diverse group of young people there in our ambassador group. Yeah.
Thank you, Shanique. All right, Danielle.
Thanks, Sharika, and hello, everyone. So as Sharika mentioned, I'm the advocacy officer at the HCC and coordinator of HCY. And so for those of you who may not be familiar, HCC, or Healthy Caribbean Coalition, I know, get used to all the acronyms. I feel like we've been using them throughout the morning so far. But it is a network of civil society organizations that are really focused on the prevention and management of non-communicable diseases. And the Secretariat is in Barbados. And essentially a lot of the work that's done through the Secretariat and is done through our different grants is really on guiding the region, and I would say in some ways internationally, on NCD prevention and control. And HCC has always been committed to amplifying the voices of those who are vulnerable, including persons living with NCDs and youth. So we've had, and I think Pierre's on the call, HCC has prioritized youth from the beginning, before HCY came formed. So Pierre, who's on the call, is our youth technical advisor, and HCC has engaged youth in internships and volunteer opportunities. But in 2020, I came on as advocacy officer, and then we also had a project assistant, Carrie, and we were just like, let's get this thing done. Maisha, who's our executive director, has always been pushing for youth engagement, so we're able to do it in a more formal way through HCY. And so some of the work that we do, it is really focused at the end of the day on NCD prevention and control, but it allows for the spectrum of advocacy. So we do digital advocacy, we do in-person advocacy, but there's also opportunities for Healthy Caribbean youth members to review some of the regional documents that go out that guide NCD prevention and control. They're able to do research. And I think Kimberly Benjamin, she was on the call, but she would have presented her document on the regulations around marketing of unhealthy foods and bevs in school. She's a Healthy Caribbean youth member. So we really try and build on our youth strengths through a number of different projects. Thanks, Rika.
Thanks, Daniel. Tyre.
Hey, thank you, Sharika. And yes, so I work for the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, and we have our childhood obesity prevention arm, because childhood obesity in Barbados is a pandemic, basically. So we have various campaigns targeted to youth. First of all, we had our youth subcommittee. So we have a coalition, which is called the Barbados Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition, which is made up of various NGOs, influential leaders, business persons, even politicians as well, faith-based groups, sporting organizations, you name it. All the stakeholders involved in development within the country are somewhat represented within our coalition. So out of the coalition, they formed a youth arm in 2019, sorry, where they have youth advocates, and Pierre, who's on the call as well, is very instrumental in that as well. And Danielle, who did a lot of the groundwork to get that built out. So the youth subcommittee is running, and we have over about 60 members of the youth arm. And they go and basically do lots of outreach activities. They do a lot of our social media platform engagement. They do lots of outreaches, you name it. How we get them in is we basically do different school tours, different outreaches, and we just get persons involved, understanding the importance of advocating on behalf of child obesity and the health crisis that we have.
Thank you, Tyre. And Andrew?
Hi. So the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago has been around probably for the last 35, 36 years, but again, the focus has been on persons living with diabetes who are typically elderly persons. I joined the association about 12 years ago when I was about 22, 23, as a young person as well, and I had to kind of carve my space into the organization, but we realized that, of course, we really aren't getting as much done without involving young persons, because diabetes, its comorbidities and risk factors affect more young people now more than ever. So we've gradually been able to incorporate more and more young persons, but over the last year, we launched a youth internship program where we targeted 6 formers throughout the country, where we would have enrolled 30 of them to take part in an internship program. We taught them about everything that they need to know about diabetes and health and research, fundraising, anything in medicine. And from these 6 formers, we would have then formed a youth advocacy branch. The branch is actually going to be launched on the 5th of November to launch Diabetes Month. And every year, we're taking the approach so that every year we're going to be doing this youth internship program to add to the branch. So we actually had 400 applicants to be part of the internship program. We only had funding for 30, so we only had to choose the top 30, which based on their grades, based on the essays. So it's a very competitive program now. And next year, I know we're going to have even more. We're going to try to get more funding to train more youth advocates, more youth interns, but of course, they're going to be added to the branch. They're going to be added to our youth arm. The strategy that we've taken is so that, we target 6 formers. So when they go back into schools, they would encourage the younger ones to join the youth arm. And also when they get them into university, they would also be encouraging the older ones as well. So we kind of went for the middle to kind of expand from there. So the youth arm has just been around for a few months, but what they are going to do is they are right now trying to put together a healthy school policy. On the day that they launch, on the 5th of November, our Minister of Health, Minister of Education, Sport, Youth Affairs, we invited our president to even be there, and the president of Trinidad and Tobago, and they are going to present, the youth arm is going to present that healthy school policy to them in front of the media. They also right now working on a poster project where they are looking at snacks in schools and looking at the nutritional components of snacks and using front of factory labeling, putting it onto the snacks and doing that poster. And we're going to try to get it into every single cafeteria in Trinidad and Tobago as well. So those are two of the initiatives that they are doing, but of course, they're expanding. They're trying to do more things on TikTok. I mean, even I don't really understand TikTok as much. I'm not much of a youth anymore, I would say. But they're doing more on TikTok and Instagram, and they're reaching more people. So it's just the start of what we are doing. And then, yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you so much, everyone. It's really interesting to see how the different efforts in the Caribbean and just the results from those will inform all the other things that we're trying to do. Because I'm really interested to see, especially with this, especially how TIRE has the coalition approach and how getting all the stakeholders in one room and, having that kind of engagement immediately is super beneficial versus some other ways that we've decided to construct, how we engage youth advocates. So it's also to see how, I guess, we can feed off each other and take the strengths and learn from all the weaknesses to make, the engagement that we currently have with youth advocates in the Caribbean perfect. And so now I want each of you to do 2 things for me. So one thing is to tell me what is the most rewarding aspect of engaging youth advocates in your work. And then I want you to tell any youth advocate that's now here on the call that might be listening from your country and wants to know how they can get involved with your organization as a youth advocate in the healthy food space. How can they do that? Where can they find you and how can they engage with your organization? All right, and we'll go in the same order as before. So Rosanna, first tell us, what's a rewarding thing or the most rewarding thing, and then you can let us know how young people can get involved in Jaya.
Okay, sure. So the most rewarding thing or aspect I'd say is the fact that we are indeed making a difference. I mean, if it's one person or one step at a time. I mean, we acknowledge here at the HFJ and within our Jaya program that no change happens on a whim or overnight, and it does require time. But whenever we are doing like our outreach activities or campaigning around a policy priority to spread our messages, if it's even, for our message to just resonate with at least one individual and they're influenced deeply to, kind of change some lifestyle habit, minimize their indulging, in some sort of risky behavior that may lead to a chronic non-communicable disease or something like that, we celebrate it as a win. And to add to that, we also see where the public support around our advocacy efforts is increasing. So that also is, rewarding for us despite the inevitable obstacles that we face. So in a nutshell, that's it for me.
How can they get involved in Jaya? Is there a way?
Yes.
Or where can they find your work?
All right. So for persons who are interested in joining our Health Advocates program, feel free to, right here in the chat box, you can just send a private message or Instagram. We're active on Instagram and Twitter through the Heart Foundation of Jamaica page. So you can just send a DM right there and we'll be able to go ahead. Someone will direct your query to us or your request. Or if you want to get through to us, like, direct contact, feel free to just send an email to GHAPJM, that's G as in George, HAP as in Peter, JM @gmail.com. And one of our team members will be, we check our inbox every day, so be readily available to just respond to your request. Or if you can go ahead to WhatsApp, I'll, throw up my number, it's 876-577-4603. And we do have a WhatsApp group. So, we will definitely give you some background information. Of course, we will do our vetting on our end, give you, a registration form and terms of reference for you to sign, and you're in.
All right. So Shan, you can go ahead. You just put in the chat. Go ahead with your telling
What was
me
the first question again?
aspects of your work, the most rewarding aspects of
Okay.
engaging with youth advocates, and I'll go ahead and put Jayan's info in the chat.
Okay, look at that. Teamwork. So the most rewarding aspect of engaging with young people, at least for me, and I think maybe the team led me as well, is that young people are very dynamic. I think one of the things that we've been trying very hard at JN is to really make our advocacy be led by young people and having young people at the face of our advocacy. So I mean, Sharika and I are getting older, so we can, streamline the behind the scene technical aspects, but we really work on empowering our young people to really go out and, voice their concerns, ask for what they want, make their recommendations, make their suggestions. And why it's rewarding when we're able to do that is because of two things. One, I think it's very much more authentic when the persons who are actually being impacted by the issues are the ones who can speak up about the issue themselves. So Sherry kind of in school, it's kind of like, okay, why are these big people talking about school nutrition? But when we have some high schoolers who are going out and saying that this is what happening in our schools, this is what the kind of change that we want to see, it kind of means something to our policymaker because they're the ones who are being directly affected by it and they're asking for better. And I think the second thing, because Sherry gave my time and then that's kind of lost. But the second thing that I think it's more that makes it very rewarding is that we are also constantly maintaining the brand that is JN, and we're ensuring that when I leave or when Sherika leave, there are also other persons here to take on the mantle and to continue the work because we're building, basically for all intents and purposes, our successors through our engagement with young people by identifying strong people who can do the work and who can benefit from JN's involvement in their life and can take on the mantle of JN and the
All right. Thank you. Daniel, we could just
and
do
as
this.
Sharika said, we share our things. If you would email, so.
Oh no, I thought you're done. I'm sorry.
She just cut me off, so that's fine. It's okay.
So sorry.
And your internet dropped, but thanks, Sharika.
It
I would
did.
say one of the most rewarding things for me, honestly, speaking honestly, is seeing the growth of the youth advocates. So for us, we really try and create spaces for HCY to work on things that they're very passionate about. So as I mentioned, some of them are special projects. And to kind of see, so now HCY is 2 years old, and to see where people started at 2020 and kind of where they are now, that's been, I find, one of the most rewarding things to see. And in terms of lessons learned / advice, invest in yourself as an advocate. And when I say invest in yourself, I don't just mean money wise, but I mean wisdom wise, I mean health wise. All of us on the call, I think we can say we're all very passionate about this work. And so sometimes we take a step back on our own mental and physical health. So just a reminder to everyone to also, while you're doing your work and fueling your passion, to also take care of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Daniel is going to go and put the contact info in the chat now. And so Tyre can tell us the most rewarding aspect.
I tend to agree with Danielle as well. The most rewarding is just seeing the growth, genuinely the growth of persons involved. When you sell the message, they buy in, but that's the first part. But then when they grow and be like, okay, they're learning on their own, and then you put them in the deep end, for instance, in an interview, and they're spot on and everything, you're like, whoa, this truly it. And then they start to bring more people around, and then one reaches one, the motto, one reach one, one reach one. And that's what they essentially do. So when they're, as Daniel said, a safe space, Sharika, you're putting pressure on me, Sharika. When we provide that safe space for them and then they're able to operate and grow and say, well, look, it's true, Shani. It's very, very true. When they operate and then move through, and then they're able to grow and then advocate and get opportunities from it, and they come and say thank you, that your program really benefited me. The advice is, I agree with Danielle again, invest in yourself. Take the time now. As youth, we have the time, and as Shanique said, we're becoming old now. We realize time is of the essence. You know that song. Time is very critical, and you have to invest in yourself, man. You know, you have the energy, you have the time, you have the lack of experience, which is good because you're able to learn and grow. So that is key. Always be willing to learn from your counterpart. Always ask questions. Always be willing to learn. Never ever stop learning. Never become too big for your boots. Never become too big to say, well, I don't have anything more to learn, because life is a journey and life is always a learning curve. I feel like singing the whole morning, singing Santaris really there, and then time is of the essence. But yeah, learning is key, and always invest in yourself. Watch videos on YouTube, ask questions from persons that are reliable and authentic and genuine, and then just continue on your journey and set your goals and just go for them. What Pop Candace say, Sharika? Set your goals and go for them. Goals. But yes, you can get in contact with us, HSF Barbados. I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Sorry, Sharika.
That's fine. Thank you, Tayer. Andrew, you can go ahead and tell us the rewarding aspects, and also please post the contact info in the chat.
Sure. What's most rewarding for me and for us at the association is really to see persons who want to help, young persons who want to help, giving them the opportunity to be able to help. As a young person, or as a former young person, I would say, when I really wanted to help in secondary school, I wanted to volunteer, I wanted to do things, I wanted to help people, and there really wasn't the avenue to do that. We've now been able to create an avenue. We've now been able to empower them, train them, lead them, give them the resources to do it, and we've seen a lot of fruit grow out of it. So that's most rewarding, because now we can now make that linkage. We can now be able to give them the opportunity to do this work. And again, just in the last few months, they're really surprising us. They're doing more than, and I could see in a couple of years them doing far more than the organization itself do, because right now we're planning a 5K, and they kind of taking over, and in a good way, because they're doing far more things than we can do. So I'm very happy to see that. So that's most rewarding, giving them that opportunity. I'll share our contact information in the chat as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. And thank you so much to all of our panelists for being here, but also generally for the work that you're doing around engaging young people in this space, because we know that without young people in the healthy food policy space in particular, we're not going anywhere. We can only drive this movement forward with young people involved. And so thank you guys for all the efforts in trying to make sure that we have sustainable movement in healthy food policies. All right, thank you. So I'm gonna hand over to Christina and Danielle again. Danielle in her double role today. And I'm excited for the next session. So let's go.
I thought you were doing a small Q&A. Am I mistaken, Danielle?
No, you're right. Actually, there was, I don't know if anyone has any questions. So Sharika, if we could keep you on. Just invite anyone if they have any questions for any of the panelists. I'm not sure. Janae might have to tell us in terms of time what we have.
Yes, that's exactly why we did what we did. So Janae, in terms of the time, we're going to move forward. Okay. And I was hoping that because everyone has all the contact information for all the organizations, if you have any questions directly for anyone, you could just also send any question you have directly to the person. So yes, we're just going to jump into the next session, and questions, you have the contact info and you guys can ask.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sharika, and to all the panelists. I really hope each and every one of you make use of those contacts. I just wanted to add something really briefly, that there may be some of you on the chat here who are already advocates or upcoming advocates, or you want to be advocates, and you may not necessarily want to focus on just health policy as a priority area or as your platform of purpose, as I like to call it. I want you to note that health rights and health as a priority can always be connected to other advocacy priorities. So even though I am an education advocate, or most people know me as an education advocate, as the president of Union of Students for Jamaica, I actually integrate health policy in my work. And even recently at the United Nations Transformation Education Summit that just concluded, education was the mandate, but I worked on ensuring that healthy policy was something that Jamaica would have had on its agenda there at the summit. And so even though I'm not necessarily the one on the ground working on nutrition policies like Sharika is doing and Shanique and other persons from the region, as the person in the room as education advocate and being given access, I ensured that I also advanced the work that Jayan has been doing in Jamaica. So if you're here and you want to be an advocate, you're saying, well, I'm not sure I want to focus on health per se alone, you can always integrate into whatever other platform you have, because healthy people, and you need a healthy life in order for you to do anything else, whatever platform you may have. So think about that as something as you go forward.